I spent 3 years policing the sex industry and human trafficking.
How was that?
That was probably the 3 of the most fulfilling years of my career. It was amazing.
Tell us about that. I'd love to hear about that, if you don't mind.
Well, so again, this is going to sound weird, is prior to actually joining the unit, so I was got selected for it because it's not as though you could have any particular person, and any person, and as much as we say, oh, police are nice, there's some people aren't. There's a scale of people who should be in that unit, some 0, some 10. And so it was one of those things where I go, right, I was to be honest, I was at a point in my career where I go, I just don't know what to do. And this opportunity came up, and I was spoke to the boss of the unit, and we'd never met, but sort of we seemed to click. And I said, no, I've never actually ever been in a brothel before, other than police. On a couple of occasions, I'd never ever been in a brothel before. And she goes, sounds perfect. That's great. So you won't sort of come with any sort of untarnished or sort of any sort of real biases, so you don't know what to expect. That's cool. We'll teach you. That's great. So started off with my first job there, and I can talk about this because it was all over the papers, so that's cool. Went down to and I'll use these terms. There's illegal brothels and illegal brothels. So your illegal brothels are like your shops, massage shops and things like that. So bear in mind, not all massage shops are illegal brothels, but there's a lot. So anyway, but it went down to a legal brothel, and in Victoria there's about 90 legal brothels, and we'd received information that there was a woman, a sex worker, who had been secreted in a wall. So when authorities came around to check the brothels, she would be put into a wall cavity and hidden. And so it's like, oh my God. And so and this is really literally within my first month at in the unit.
Yep.
And so we go down there and we're looking around, and it was a larger brothel. And so we're looking around and couldn't find anything like that would go, well, can't find any sort of doorways or anything like that. It was quite odd. And so we sort of left empty-handed because we didn't really know. We knew we were looking for a person, but didn't know who it was, or and didn't know really what they looked like or anything. So there was sex workers there, but they were fine. Like, we check on the welfare of them. That's fine. That's no dramas. And the brothel owner was there as well, and wasn't being overly helpful. And so then we left with a couple of other government agencies, and then got more information about exactly where they were in the brothel.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember looking in that room, I'm going, there is no doorway, no cupboard, no nothing in there, no medicine cabinet. And, like most people, when you think of a medicine cabinet, you think about that square box on the wall. And so I went back down there, and either the next day, the same day or the next day, I can't remember, and went in there and went straight up to the room where we'd been told. And I'm looking at this room and going, I have no idea, what's going on. Not what's going on, but I just can't imagine whether I'm looking in dryers, washing machines, everything, looking at this person. And I just happened to be looking at this shelf that had Listerine and plastic cups on it, not going to think with the cups, and everything was blue tacked down. And I go, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden, it was about a 30-degree day in Melbourne. All of a sudden, this gust of hot air came in from the sides, and I had a close look, and as it turned out, this cabinet was a door. And so basically sort of speaking to the brothel owner, going, what's this? And he goes, I don't know what it is. It's just a set of shelves, because it looked like a set of shelves. Right. And built into the wall, so sort of set within the the plaster. And after a bit of a go, managed to reef it open and look inside, and here's this, I think, yes, little Chinese woman just looking up, and she'd been like told, as it turned out, after an investigation, she'd been told to, when authorities come, she's got to hide in there. Now, what was interesting about, and I learnt this as I sort of went along with regard to human trafficking, was that with human trafficking, don't have to, like, it's not as it just has to be threats over you, really, that something's going to happen to you. It's not like you might think in the movies where everyone has to be chained to something for sexual servitude or debt bondage or whichever part of human trafficking you want to talk about. But it's go, well, I've got, maybe, for example, I've got a debt to pay off, and say back in the mother country, and if I get caught, then I'll have to be forced back, and I'll have to pay off that debt some other way, for example. So
yeah, wow.
And this is again a lot of learning on this particular instance, was a lot of learnings from a few different agencies, particularly us as Victoria Police and other agencies. She was put into, because she became an unlawful non-citizen, she was put in immigration detention. And so I went and spoke to her there with an interpreter, and then so we got as police, we got what we needed. So we're sort of this singular focus. We're going, right, we've got what we needed. Border Force now need to do what they need to do, not thinking, well, actually, she needs our protection. We can't just kick her out of the country. She needs our protection. But by the time we sort of got our act into gear, like Border Force had arranged for her to exit the country. So now she's gone back to maybe another situation. And it was, and that's sort of really hard. Like, it still sits with me as going, we didn't do right by this person. We end up getting a result against the brothel owner at the tribunal in Victoria about the brothel license. But then, the flip side was, well, now, we've got that. That's great. But then we go, well, now we've got a person who actually don't know what's happened to them once they've exited Australia. And that was, so that was a really like a big moment for me to understand these are really, really vulnerable people, and probably some of the most vulnerable people in the community. And there is, and for a long time, as much as we try and remove it, there's a stigma attached with being a sex worker, and that there's a lot of support agencies, so I discovered, that are working in the background to support sex workers in the industry, either exit it, or if they want to stay, support them to stay. There's a lot of agencies now also working to just, I suppose, just make life better for them, and not make it so that that sex workers are seen as second class citizens.